Welcome back to School of Calisthenics. It's Tim and Jacko, and this time we're talking about core principles.
So lesson 1 in this core principles is going to be about the science of the six-pack. Before we just get stuck into that, make sure you click subscribe down there if you haven't done yet, before Tim tells us what on earth the core actually is.
Well, the science of the six-pack sets us up because we're actually going to talk about a lot more than the six-pack. The six-pack is just the rectus abdominis, it's the muscles on the front of the abdomen and the outside, and really you could drill that down to all they want to do is flex the spine. And if you're thinking about what you're using those for on a daily basis, getting out of bed, sitting up out of a chair, there's not a lot else going on. What we're more interested in is when we're talking about the core, is we're talking about any musculature which attaches into the spine and the pelvis. The job of the core, from what we're concerned about in movement and calisthenics, is to stabilize movement and to transfer force around the body. So we want to be able to hold postural positions or postural control. If we're in flags, levers and handstands, it's a deep intrinsic core stabilizers close to the spine and pelvis, which is sticking all that together. And we need to be able to transfer force from hand to feet.
So the core is more than just that six-pack.
Six-pack comes as a result of having a good core in the great scheme of things.
And a low body fat.
And low body fat. And you can do much more if you've got the whole core system working together than you can do if you've just got a big chunky set of abs that look like you swallowed a turtle.
And one of the things we're really passionate about here at the School of Calisthenics is rather than like people being worried about like having the six-pack, what does it look like and how do I look, we're more interested in what can you core do and what can you do with your body as a result of that. So let's get stuck into this first lesson.
Now, I don't know how many core exercises there are. Probably somebody has done 1,001 of the best core exercises, but understanding what you're actually trying to achieve means you can dial your core training down to something which is actually going to be quite effective. So let's look at calisthenics because that's the best thing in the world, and we're going to start to look at how we're going to use some effective core exercises. And the number one we want to go to is be able to get a really good, strong hollow body and hollow rock. So Jacko's going to give us a quick demonstration. Why this movement is important is because we're going to start to create this nice, shows a hollow body, Jacko, this nice tucked position where we're making this dish shape. What we're doing is we're creating loads of tension through from the chain from the hands to the toes, and we're going to try and hold that position. This is going to be really important in our handstands and our levers of being able to keep strong in this midsection to keep the feet and the arms in the right position and controlling and transferring that force. So this might be one position here we can just hold. It's actually not that easy. Jacko's doing a good job of making that look pretty straightforward. Where we ultimately want to get to is actually, can we rock in this position? So you can see he holds that dish position and he's rocking on his shoulders and then onto his hips. Couple of real key points here. The hands and the feet shouldn't get closer together. It should maintain that dish position throughout. And when he goes onto his shoulders, you've really got to work hard with the lower abs to pull the hips up off the ground. If we don't, what happens is you roll onto your shoulders and we just hip flex and we're losing all that tension in the train. That's not going to be particularly effective when we're in our lever positions or we're trying to transfer force. Interestingly, the same position is relevant in a muscle up, so it really does have a lot of carryover. Get these nailed down and you're going to start to see a lot of your calisthenics movements get a hell of a lot easier. As we said, this is not an easy movement, so we're just going to highlight a couple of things that go wrong in it so you can be aware of them and you can try and make sure that you're not falling foul of these failings in the movement as you go through. So the first one, I'm going to get Jacko to come up, is going to rock himself up onto this position, but you can see what is happening is he's just pulling the toes up, so the toes are getting closer to the hands rather than maintain that nice dish position where we've got the same distance between them. You can see he's rocking down, he's also like falling onto his shoulders, he's slapping his back down. It should be a nice smooth rocking position when you get it right. So if you're finding it difficult to do that with the arms and legs straight out, we can just regress it slightly and we can just shorten the lever a touch. So you can see Jacko now just bends the knees and brings the hands in. He makes the total amount of load that's going onto the core less because he's having to control less weight further away from his midsection, and it still maintains this rocking position with the abs on super tight, keeping strong and keeping that dish position. As he gets more confident, he can then start to extend those levers out a little bit, taking the hands further away. If you just start to move your feet and hands all the way out gradually until you feel like you can get into that full outstretched hollow rock position, aim then to get 20 of these down in one sitting, and then we've got a really nice solid ability to keep tension in the chain. There's a little test you can do to see if you've got this hollow body locked down, and we're going to start to play a little bit of a game with our partner to see if they can actually hold that tension in the chain. So Jacko's going to go into his hollow body hold position, so not worrying about the rock, but he's just going to lift his feet off, shoulders off. He's making that nice tucked position, so his bum's tucked up underneath him, rock solid in the midsection. So what should happen now is if he's doing a good job, as I push down on the feet, we should see him rock into that dish position. So if I start pressing, you have to push down a little bit harder than you think. You can see, beautifully done, that he's holding that shape. Now what a lot of people try and do is they think, I've got this nailed down, I know what I'm doing. So when their partner pushes down, rather than holding that hollow rock position, we do a sit-up, all right? So we're just doing that, using the rec ab, we're not holding that tension in the midsection. So wait a little bit, you can play around a touch. So Jacko, come again, last one. So I can just make him work a little bit harder, and he's got to hold, and I actually have to push down harder than you think to move that system. But you can see there, the whole system, the core, we go back to what we talked about at the beginning. Any of the musculature from connecting to the pelvis and the spine, all of that is working together to hold postural control and to link and transfer force through the chain.
Right, so that hollow rock and that hollow body position might not look that difficult, but I can tell you my abs are on fire after just doing those few demos. And it's something that when I first came out of rugby into calisthenics, I couldn't even do it at all. So it's definitely something to get nailed down and get training and get practicing with that so you can start to use your core effectively.
So until next week,
class dismissed.